Hi, it's Greg Roberto, the head coach, and we're here with another edition of 18 Online, the fastest 18 minutes in golf. And we have a very special guest today by the name of Lisa Love. Lisa is a mindset mastery coach who teaches golfers mindfulness to achieve optimal performance both on and off the course. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you very much for having me, Greg. I'm delighted to be here.
Thanks for being on. And as I said, we have 18 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and start the timer, and here we go. Okay, so mindfulness. I know some people have heard about it, and you can maybe conjure up an idea of what it means for you, but do you just want to share in your terms what that means and how it can help?
Yeah, so that's a great question to start with. So mindfulness is really placing your attention on the present moment, on what it is that you're doing, and also being free from letting your thoughts run the show. So there's a difference between awareness and thinking. And I see a lot of golfers getting tangled up in thinking, too many swing thoughts, when they're on the first tee. And you can see by how rigidly they stand or how long they stand, quietly over the ball, and all these things are going through the checklist. And you really don't need thoughts to swing, you need awareness. So mindfulness training is basically helping you train yourself to place your awareness where it's most fruitful, where it's going to yield the best results.
Excellent. And I know you put together
different ways to do it.
Excellent. Yeah, and I was just going to say, I know you put together a nice PowerPoint presentation for today's webinar. So if you want to go ahead and pull that up, we'll go ahead and get started with that.
Be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to get distracted in golf, right? You can have thoughts of work, you could have thoughts of school, you could have all kinds of thoughts that you bring to the course. First and foremost, what is one of the ways that right out of the gate, whether you're driving to the course or walking to the course, whatever, what is one of the ways that a golfer can become more mindful before they even pull a club out of their bag?
So I like to encourage people to use their breath to connect with themselves, and also use their vision to connect with their environment. So really choosing where you want to place your focus, and you are the hub of your game, right? So you want to connect with yourself and your physical body, and the breath is a beautiful way to do that. So you could start by even driving to the course, just starting with breathing in through the center of your chest. We call this heart-centered breathing, and filling up with good feelings. And you can pick a quality that you want to fill yourself with. Say you're feeling a little nervous or you're feeling a little rushed. See if you can monitor your thoughts and let them go, and bring your focus back to the here and now by following the breath into your body, filling up, and letting go of anything that's not useful. Tension, excess thought, that feeling of rushing. So the breath is a really easy way to connect.
Excellent. Yeah, you said a key word there, useful. I think a lot of us have thoughts that are, working against us, and being more mindful and using the power of your breathing to be more aware of what the objective is today, which is to go out and have fun and play the best golf that you can play, is huge. A concept that I teach is always playing golf with the mental game strategy, or just a high-level plan that you can carry to the course. So I think a great, simple strategy that any golfer can take to the course is just to be mindful of the here and now, correct?
That's great. Yes, because what you're paying attention to is going to be reflected in your attitude. And people don't necessarily realize they can shift their attitude even in the middle of a round. If things start going south, there are several strategies that you can employ to shift out of a negative mindset. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about today.
Great. Yeah, and let's go ahead and get into it right here and now, Lisa. So how can you help me, or how can you help our audience just to be a little bit more present and focus on the here and now?
So you want to notice where your attention is. Is it focused on the past? Maybe you're mulling something over that you're feeling unresolved about, or maybe you're focusing on the future and you're thinking about your score or the 19th hole or what you have to do after you play your round. So notice if you're not here paying attention to what you're doing, then make that choice. So it's really about choosing, first noticing where your attention is, and then choosing to place it on the here and now. And so the question is, okay, be here now, but how? How do I do that? So I already mentioned the breathing, and there's different types of breathing that you can do. I used to teach yoga. So one of the techniques that I find really helpful is to use what's called the sounding breath or the ocean breath. And it has a calming and energizing effect. And you simply relax the back of your throat, the part of your throat that would do that to clear your throat. And you just let the opening narrow. And when you're making the sounding breath, you'll sound internally to yourself like Darth Vader.
Can you better explain that? Because I'm not really sure how that works exactly. So explain that to me again.
So try to clear your throat a little bit.
Okay.
Feel that part of your soft palate that touches together when you do that. Right?
Okay.
And let that soften so that it causes a restriction of the air flowing in. Instead of keeping it really open and silent, it's going to make it rasp. So I'll see if you can hear as I breathe in. And I'll breathe out with my mouth open so you can hear better. You hear that kind of leaky tire sort of sound?
Yes.
Okay. So it restricts the flow, but it slows down your breathing. So there's the calming effect right there.
Nice.
And it may be easier to do that only on the exhale to begin with, because people can sort of overdo it and feel like they're oxygen hungry on the in-breath, because it is slowing down the in-breath. But it's really useful to practice, and not just start practicing on the golf course. You want to practice away from the golf course so it becomes second nature for you. And a great way to practice to let your diaphragm drop down is to lie on the floor with your feet up over a piece of furniture and maybe a pillow or something on your abdomen around your navel, so that as you're breathing in, you're seeing or feeling that pillow or that weight rise up a little bit. And as you exhale, it falls back towards the spine. So we're combining abdominal breathing with the sounding breath, and that gets your attention inside, and it's calming. And it's energizing in a way that's not too exciting. You know, you want to be sort of a neutral, positive state energetically on the golf course. You don't want to be too high. You don't want to be too lethargic. So that's a great balancing breath. Or you could simply count your breathing. I think you use a technique like that where you do a 4 count. So I would recommend you could just count how many seconds it takes to breathe in, hold for a moment, and then count how many seconds it takes to breathe out. And if you can lengthen the out breath, that will have a calming effect as well. And you're recruiting the vagus nerve then to influence your fight or flight system in your brain by lengthening your exhalation.
Excellent.
So two things to remember. Focus on the breathing and lengthen the exhale. And if you want to add the sounding breath, great. Otherwise, just let the abdomen expand on the inhale like a bellows and contract on the exhale. That goes against what we've been conditioned to do, which is to keep the stomach in and chest out. And that kind of breathing, if it's only in the upper chest, will generate anxiety.
Awesome.
So the other way to be here and now is to use any of your 6 senses. So there's hearing, there's touch or kinesthetic awareness, there's taste, there's smell, there's sight, and there's proprioceptive awareness, which is locating yourself, your body in space, which is a very helpful awareness to focus on when you're doing your swing. Sort of being aware of the club face as you're linked to the present moment and feeling that. That helps you to develop feel. How far back is it? Feeling that pause as the coil gets ready to release, and then pressing down into the earth and letting the arms swing round your center. So you can really feel where your body is and dynamically moving in space. Then another way to be here and now is what I said before, is just monitoring for where your attention has wandered. Because when you go into the past or go into the future, you create tension. So let go of past and future tense as soon as you catch it, and just come back to now. Make sense?
Great. Makes total sense. Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, and I think we have, a lot of us have a tendency to, look in the rear view mirror and focus on what happened on the previous hole, or, maybe what happened on the front nine and how it's going to impact their score, and their mind starts racing ahead to the future and what they need to shoot on this hole or the remaining holes to try and get to the number that they're trying to achieve for the day, which is all of the wrong thoughts. So yeah, the concept of being here and now and totally present on the task at hand is, I talk about it all the time. It's the most important thing and often overlooked thing in golf.
Yes, if you place your attention on your score and your external performance, then you lose your connection to your process. And it's only by good process that you're going to have any side effect of a good outcome or a decent outcome. And you're not in control of that. The only thing you're in control of is how you participate in the present moment. And the more of your attention that you have here and now, the smarter you're playing.
Absolutely.
So that's what we want to notice is, where's our awareness? How well are we paying attention? And what are we focusing on? The neat thing about awareness is just by shining the light of your attention on something, your experience of it changes. And Thich Nhat Hanh has a beautiful quote about it. Awareness is like the sun. When it shines on things, they are transformed. So that's very true with consciousness as well. When you place the light of your consciousness on something that you want to pay attention to, it just changes. Like, say you're putting, and the difference between worrying over a putt and feeling unconfident that it's not going to go in the hole, and what are people going to think if you miss this 2.5-foot putt, versus breathing, connecting to the earth, seeing the line of the putt, feeling an energetic connection to the hole, and imagining that hole expanding and being big enough to welcome the ball in. You have a different outcome, different experience. Even if it doesn't go in, you have a different experience. The one's tight and trying to be controlling, the other is finding flow. So you want to nurture the kinds of attitudes and focus that brings you into that state of flow. And the only entry point is present moment. Nice.
Yeah, and one of the things that I often think about on the golf course is just the space that you're in and what you're doing. Your whole game is right here, right now, in front of you. And we have this common thought process to let our mind go everywhere else but what's right here in front of us. So if you really think about, if you really honed in on the task at hand and your mind is just totally present with what you're trying to achieve, which is to put, as good of a swing on the ball as you possibly can, and not let yourself be distracted by everything else is everything. And there's a feeling of, when you do that, where you're not so caught up in all of the extraneous factors, where you're just totally present, totally here, totally now, it's hard to describe, but it's almost this feeling of euphoria when you're totally connected to the task at hand.
Yeah, that's called being in the zone or being in a flow state. Yeah. And it's not that we can manipulate ourselves there. We can just prepare to allow it to occur. And so we can't stop the fact that we're having thoughts, but we can notice that we're having thoughts and choose to let them go. Is this serving me to hold on to this thought right now? No? If not, what might I connect to instead? And so there's lots of different things you can connect to stay in the present moment. So the sounds of nature, the color of the green of the leaves and the grass, the feel of the breeze against your skin. Maybe there's a scent in the air as you're passing by some lilac bushes. You can connect to others, the people that you're playing with, or just this general feeling of, I'm one of many golfers around the world, who've played this game for eons. You can connect to yourself, which I think is really primary, and we talked about how to do that. You can connect to the activity, really feeling the flow, the dynamic feeling of the swing, how you take your grip, your stance, how you choose your alignment, and then imagining before you do it that the fluid power of the backswing, and imagining that moment where you regather from the coil to unleash that power, and then feeling the arms being soft and long, and then go ahead and make the movement. So all of these things will help you be more present and pay more attention. And when a thought comes in that's disruptive, like, oh, don't go in the water, step back, start over, really pay attention to what you want to notice instead of letting that one worry thought or extraneous distraction, maybe a butterfly just hovered over your ball, reset.
Love it. Love it. I think it's, and we've got a couple minutes left, Lisa, but I think it's what you just said is one of the most important things in golf is the ability to step away when you know you are not what I call 100% ready and go through your process all over again. I know it's hard to do when everything's totally quiet and your group or who's ever watching you is waiting for you to hit, but if you're not ready, the likelihood of you hitting a good shot is much less.
That's true. And then the other thing is to not batter yourself when something goes wrong, but to use adversity as an opportunity to better yourself. And so you need to shift from being an inner critic to an inner cheerleader. So there are some ways that you can foster a better attitude. So I like with your app that you have what are 3 positives that you're taking away from your game. And what I ask people to try to do to challenge themselves is to come up with 5 positives for every 1 negative thought that they have. And that's a challenge sometimes. And to commit to their pre-shot routine every time. So that really means you have to let go of your impatience or your sense of hurrying or trying to get to the next thing and really just slow yourself down and go through the motions again, because that's how you connect to the present moment and your intent, right?
Nice.
And then focus on the what. So what is the ideal shot shape that you want? Where's your landing spot? Pick your target that you want, but don't worry about the how it's going to happen. Your muscle memory, your subconscious mind has the answers for that. It can take the wind direction and speed into account. So just get really clear on what it is you want to feel and want to create. And then lastly, it's just expect the best rather than demanding it or feeling that you're entitled to it, and not letting yourself collapse if and when it doesn't happen that way, but just holding that positive expectancy. So you're in the sand trap and you're two away from par, and you say to yourself, this could go in. And you might conjure up a player who did that and get that feeling.
All right, there's our timer's going off on us, so we're running out of time. This is awesome stuff. Perfect slide. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm on the web, and I have a Facebook page dedicated to golfers where I have weekly mindful golf tips and other good stuff. And then I also am on Twitter. So look me up and get in touch. I'd love to help you. Great.
Lisa, phenomenal information. Golf is all about being present, being here, being mindful of the task at hand. And I can't think of a better subject to talk about than everything that you just did, because, every golfer gets so caught up in everything else, but if there's ever a time to be, a little selfish about yourself, it's when you're standing over the golf ball and just focusing on the task at hand and putting yourself in that optimal state and putting the best possible swing that you can on it and worrying about or thinking about nothing else. So great stuff. I appreciate you being a guest on the show and sharing some great information today.
Thank you so much, Greg. I enjoy all that you have to offer golfers as well. Glad to be a participant.
Thanks, Lisa. So it's Greg Lombardo, the head coach, wrapping up another edition of 18 Online and helping you get focused on playing your best golf ever. We'll see you in the next episode.